In this video, we will be looking at Kubernetes installation. In our case, we will be using Google Kubernetes Engine for installing the Kubernetes. Now, what are the various other options available? When we are talking about Kubernetes, the simplest solution is implementing one node cluster by using Minikube. But that is used for testing purpose. Then we can implement 3-node Kubernetes cluster on our local system. That means we will need 3 physical systems or 3 virtual machines. On individual machines, we will first install the Docker, then we will install the Kubernetes master, configure the Kubernetes master, and then we will join the Kubernetes worker nodes to the cluster. Because minimum requirement is of 3 systems when you are implementing any type of cluster, but it requires a lot of time and skill set. Now there are 3 other solutions available which are very easy, that are cloud based. That means you can use Azure cloud, their Kubernetes service, or you can use AWS, Amazon's EKS service. But the best one is Google Kubernetes Engine. Just remember one thing: these Kubernetes projects were donated to the open source community by the Google itself, and I have seen their implementation is the easiest one and the best one. So in our case, we will be using the Google Kubernetes Engine for implementing the Kubernetes. Although you can use any of these solutions, if you are using your local system, then Minikube is the best solution. And if you are a little bit technical person, you can implement yourself 3-node cluster. But just in 5 minutes, you can implement the cluster in GKE. So we will be using that. Now first you need to create one account in cloud.google.com. You can use your Gmail account, and they give access for free also. So we can click on the get started for free. In my case, I have already done this. So in my case, what I will be doing, I will be signing in. Then when you sign in by using your email address, you will get to this hamburger type of menu. That means 3 lines. Now Google does not only provide Google Kubernetes Engine. It provides apps engine, compute engines, lot of services. But when we are going to click on this 3 line, we will get the various options available. But in our case, we will be choosing the Kubernetes Engine. In Kubernetes Engine, again, various further choices are there. What we will be using, in our case, we will be using the cluster option. So when we are going to click on this, we will get another screen, and it will show some notifications. When you are going to create the account, certain notifications will be there. And by default, one project will be get created. The name of the project will be my first project. You can create a new project and you can name according to you. But in our case, we will be keeping the thing simple. So what we are going to do, we are going to click on create cluster. When we are going to create cluster, this is the full menu. That means the choices will be there, and one choice will be create cluster. And please remember, there is also one very important option there, activate cloud shell. So when I am going to create the cluster, I need to manage that cluster also. So there are many options for managing that cluster. One is that in my local laptop, I am going to install some Linux system. On Linux system, I am going to install certain G-Cloud utility, kubectl type of utilities. By using that, I am going to manage my Kubernetes cluster. But the beautiful thing about Google is that they give you one VM. So when you click on activate cloud shell, what you will get? You will get one VM, and all the tools are pre-installed. And another beautiful thing is this VMs also contains the Docker. So we will be looking at that also to see how the containers works. So that means we will be managing our cluster after creating by using the activate cloud shell. So on clicking on create cluster, we will get various options, and when we are going to choose those various options, our cluster will get created. Then after that, what we will do, we will be clicking on the activate cloud shell. First time it is going to take a lot of time. Later on, what will happen, it will quickly will get activated. So after that, when you click on the cloud shell, it will give you one message. What it is saying, manage your project and resources from your web browser with Google Cloud Shell, an interactive shell environment. With Cloud Shell, Cloud SDK, G Cloud command line, and other utilities are pre-installed. And you can also install your utilities also. So we will be clicking on continue. When we are going to click on continue, we will get one shell which will be like this, and our by default one project will be shown to us. You can create again your new project also, but we will not be going into that details. We want to keep the thing simple. So by default our project is OceanWorks this. So when I'm going to type the command pwd, it will show me my home directory, home vpnkg, because I used this account for logging into Kubernetes Engine. And when I'm going to run this ls command, it is going to show me the files which are by default available. By default one file is available, readme cloud shell text. You can open this file and read the instructions. Now what it is going to tell you about what is in this cloud shell. What it is saying, welcome to Google Cloud Shell, a tool for managing resources hosted on Google Cloud Platform. In our case, it will be GKE cluster. The machines come pre-installed with Google Cloud SDK and other popular development tools. Your 5G home directory will persist across session, but this VM is ephemeral and will be reset approximately 20 minutes after your session ends. No system-wide changes will persist. That means by default we will be getting one VMs. By using this VM, what we can do, we can connect to our Google cluster, Google Kubernetes cluster that we are going to create. And again, this is again another view of our cloud shell that we will be getting. And when we are going to run this command to check whether our cluster is running or not, the command is going to be kubectl get nodes. It is going to tell us how many nodes. In our case, we will be creating a cluster of 3 nodes. So in our case, it will be showing 3 nodes. What will be the status, whether ready or not ready, and which version of Kubernetes they are using. All these things we will be discussing. But when I will in next video, when we will be seeing how to create the Kubernetes, in that case your machine's address will be different, because every time when we create the cluster, the VMs that are used by the Kubernetes engine, they will get changed. And when we are going to run the command kubectl get ports, no port will be available, because we have just installed the cluster, and after installing the cluster, no port will be available. So later on we will be creating those ports. So step by step we will be looking at how to create our Kubernetes cluster.